Hey, how do you feel about some high rarity cards, or maybe some foreign ones, or maybe be ahead of the game with others by preparing for future set releases with very quick shipping? Check out EJ Gaming and use code British5 on checkout for 5% off on all your orders. Link in the description.
Greetings duelists and welcome to another video. So as we already know, AGOV format has pretty much just begun. We're pretty much 1 week after not only its initial release, but also like the conclusion of the Indianapolis YCS. The format is still very diverse. However, there are a few more established games or like established decks in the metagame, mainly being Rescue Ace, Purely, Two Elements, Vanadium, Unchained, those being like the top 5. And then you have like other decks that are very close, like the Rika, Dragons, other Sinful Spoils decks like Mekanko, Horus variants, Vanquish Soul. That's already like 10 decks. Today I wanted to showcase you the deck that I'm currently piloting this format. I've already spoke about this deck in the past. I already spoke about Labrynth Unchained. There's a couple of videos on it already. If you are curious on the profile, feel free to check those out. I am playing a slightly different build. I won't show it just yet. Tomorrow, by the time of this recording, maybe it's either tomorrow or I'll just say Saturday. There's like 100-person plus tournament that I'm going to be attending. It is a really big tournament that is happening involving like a fan game convention that they do here like every year. And yeah, I think it's going to be a very hyped event, and this will be the deck I'll be piloting for that event. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to showcase you a bunch of different things you can do with this deck, because as I already brought up like on the past deck profiles, this deck is not linear at all. There are a lot of different lines you can do. There are a lot of different plays. This is probably the most complicated deck I've played in a while. By the time anybody, if you guys are encouraged to try out this deck, like I can assure you that in one day you won't figure out every single play you can do with this deck. Like, it's just that extensive. But that being said, I'm just going to do like a few test hands and just showcase you a lot of different things you can do. So if we look at our hand, we see Escape, Welcome, Abominable Chamber, Ariana, and Chandelier. You're probably thinking, well, this is just a typical like Labrynth setup that can get you to Unchained cards and you can just set decent passes and whatever. Let me show you something that you're probably not thinking about. I'm going to activate Ariana's effect, and with Ariana I'm going to add us the new card from AGOV, the Labrynth Butler. We're going to trigger Butler's effect. Butler reads that you can discard it or send it from the hand or field, and you can do one or two effects. Either special summon a Labrynth or set one trap. Whatever trap you set with Butler's effect can be activated this turn. The second effect, if your opponent responds to a Labrynth, except for Butler herself, you can activate Butler from the graveyard and she can special summon herself. That being said, we're going to set the Welcome Labrynth. Welcome Labrynth is going to trigger, and the card we're going to summon with the Welcome Labrynth is going to be a card that's not typical in a Labrynth deck, but I feel it's like really good on this one. The card we're going to be summoning is Ariane, the Labrynth Servant. So what does Ariane do? Ariane is basically Summoner Monk, but for Fiend type monsters, sending a trap card from our hand or field to the graveyard. And then it has the second effect, which is the same effect that Ariana has. The main difference is, as opposed to Ariana, you can actually use both effects in the same turn. So that being said, we're going to do Ariana's effect. We're going to send the chamber as cost, and I'll give you 5 seconds to guess what monster are we summoning with Ariana's effect. 4, 3, 2, 1. The monster we're going to summon with this is going to be Sarama, the Unchained Twins. Take note, Ariana does not negate whatever monster you're summoning with this. So Sarama does have its effects online. Since we have an Unchained trap in our graveyard, we can now do Sarama's effect. Grab the Unchained card, set it, and then pop a card. And the card we're going to be popping is the same Chamber. Now we can do Chamber's effect, and Chamber is going to summon us an Unchained monster from deck. And here we have a plethora of options. If you are familiar with Unchained and how Unchained works, you should know about this step by now. But we're just going to summon Shiyama. We're going to link away Shiyama and the Ariana into the Unchained Soul of Yama. The reason we keep Ariane, is because if by some instances we end up with her on the board and we end up with like something like a big Welcome Labyrinth on the graveyard, you can use its effect, bounce something, and then Ariana can trigger her effect to draw a card and then either set or special summon a Fiend type monster. That being said, we're doing Yama's effect, where Yama, we're going to grab us to hand Chivara. Now what we're going to do is we're going to activate the Unchained Soul of Yama in the graveyard, and we're going to target the Sarama. That Sarama will be popped. We summon the Shiyama. Now Sarama will trigger. And we're going to be special summoning the Chivara. And yeah, you should be already familiar with all of this by now. Basically, we're going to grab these two. We make the Hiking Caesar. There are like a lot of different lines you can do. Another thing you can do is just link these two away for Rage. And then use Chiyama, and then use Chivara as effect. And Chivara is going to set us like whichever one we're missing. We're missing Chamber, and we already used Torama, so we're just gonna set Chamber. And then we can just do Chivara, pop Rage. Rage will trigger. Chivara goes back to her hand. We can overlay these two into the High King. The King Caesar. And then we can set Escape. And we can also use Chandelier and just like dump the Escape or dump the Chivara. But yeah, like, you know, this is just typical Unchained stuff. We can take it a little bit further just so you can see what we're talking about. Like something you can do is like set Big Welcome, have Big Welcome already set, and then in your opponent's turn you can flip Big Welcome. That will summon the Lovely. Lovely will bounce Ariane with the Big Welcome. The Lovely will trigger, then the Chandelier will trigger, and yeah. Okay, let's try another hand. And after we do like one or two more test hands, we can do like a plethora of different plays that you can do. Okay, so we have this typical hand. Every time you see Cool Clock with like a Furniture or Ariana, it's just bound to get crazy because you can do a lot of different things. Let's summon Ariana. Ariana is going to trigger. We're going to grab us. Let us grab Big Welcome. We're going to set the Big Welcome. We're going to activate Cool Clock. Cool Clock will trigger. This will go to grave. We can now do Big Welcome Labyrinth. Big Welcome Labyrinth is going to summon us the Lovely Labyrinth. This goes to grave. Now the lovely Labrynth. Oh, we need to bounce a card back to hand. So we're going to grab us back the arena. Lovely is going to pop. We're going to set with Lovely's effect. And this is just typical Labrynth stuff. However, another interesting dynamic to this is that one other thing we can do instead of like just summoning that, right? Let's put this back. Let's put these two back. Well, the big welcome is already on board. So let us summon something else with big welcome. Let us summon the Lady Labrynth. So Lady Labrynth will go back to our hand. This goes to grave. Since a Labrynth monster was activated this turn, or a Labrynth card or a normal trap, you can special summon her. And then these two can link away into the Unchained Soul Lord of Yama. And then Yama can trigger, grab us like any Unchained. And let us grab Charvara. We can do Charvara's effect, pop the Yama. The Unchained Abominable can trigger, so we can summon here. We can link these two away for rage. The Charvara will trigger, and that can set that can summon set us the chamber or the escape. Let's just put us these two, like just to show all the scenarios. So we have this setup, right? So if you choose the chamber route, you can bring back the Abominable. And since Abominable is level 8, the Abominable is a disruption, but however, you also have Big Welcome Labrynth. And Big Welcome Labrynth can bounce any card on the field if you control a level 8 monster. Well, one card your opponent controls, and in your case, one Fiend monster. So that's another layer of interruption that you have as well. You can, if you choose the escape route, you can escape, then pop the rage. Rage can grab us something back, and then you can use Yama's effect to bring back either rage or the Abominable, and it's the same setup as well. So with the existence of the Labrynth cards, there's like a whole new dimension in like there's a new dimension of plays, and like there's more versatility in the level of interruptions that you have outside of just your typical Unchained board. Let's try to reset the hand again and see if we can grab another scenario. This typical Unchained hands, pretty much like our standard. Something we can do here is we can Abomb Prison to grab us escape. We can do Ariana. Ariana is going to grab us the Kuklak. And then we can Kuklak effect. And then Kuklak can discard itself, can activate a trap the turn of set. We can activate the chamber. Chamber to special the Sarama. Chamber's in grave. Sarama's effect. Like set chamber, pop chamber. Chamber's effect. Summon Shiyama or Charvara, whichever one you wish. Going to Yama, and now you're starting to see like how the Labrynth cards just like mesh well together with Unchained, like in a plethora of ways. This will summon the escape. We'll set escape. We'll grab us Charvara back to hand, the one from the graveyard. And yeah, like, let's see what else we can do. If we don't get like more than something abnormal with our typical hand, I'm just going to show you like a lot of other combos we can do outright. We've already seen this hand. Now let's show you other things you can do, or other benefits that this deck has outside of just typical Labyrinth or typical Unchained. Let's talk about the furnishers. So both Chandelier and Torby have really good synergy with the big dogs, like the big Unchained monsters. Something really cool that you can do is like you can use a furnisher and dump Charvara, and in this instance we have access to both an Unchained trap and the Labyrinth trap. What I typically like doing here is set Chamber and set regular welcome. Let's say you're regular welcome's in hand. I'm only playing one of them. Since we already have it, we can just set the big welcome, or not. We'll just put it here. So let's say you're on your opponent's end phase and your opponent like has already a board established or whatever. You can do this play, set these two cards, and then in your next turn, something that I like doing a lot is I like flipping the Welcome Labyrinth. Welcome Labyrinth will summon us like Ariana, and then depending on the rest of the hand, like we can do something else with Ariana. But like I like summoning Ariana just do something, and then flip Chamber. Chamber will summon back this. If you're trying to deal with your opponent's cards, something that we can do is we summon Lovely Labyrinth. And Lovely Labyrinth pretty much becomes a threat immediately to your opponent, because this card makes it so your opponent cannot respond to your traps with monster effects. So let's say you have like another trap, or let's say this trap was like Escape, for example, or something like that, and your opponent already has like an established board. Granted, they probably would be negating your cards by that instance, but in the off chance they don't, like, you know, they can't Baron this, they can't Baron or like Appaloosa or do something against the whatever these traps are doing. So that's what one dynamic you can do with the furnishers. Another dynamic that I like doing is like the blue dog is way less of a brick because the furnishers just dump it to the graveyard, and this does trigger in the graveyard. So one other thing you can do is instead of red dog, you can put blue dog like instead, and then you have like the welcome, and then something you can do is you do blue dog's effect to target the welcome labyrinth, and then you chain the welcome labyrinth, and that way you get two bodies on board without your normal summon yet. So those seem really basic, and they seem like they don't do like a lot of impact, but it just good for you to see like all the scenarios that you can do with, like with all the cards that you have available. Let's see something else we can do here. So this is like an example of a hand that I brought up. One thing we can do here is we can just pop, set, pop, special, grave, trigger. We'll be summoning like, we'll summon blue dog. Something, if you want to be like super minimalistic, something you can do is you just don't do anything else. You just summon the Caesar, and then use Chandelier's effect. And with Chandelier, you set regular welcome. And now that we have regular welcome, you have regular welcome set, and then your opponent's turn, you just flip it, and like a lot of stuff can vary. Let's say you summon like Lovely Labrynth, right? So Lovely Labrynth, because she's a level 8, you can banish like Big Welcome. This already becomes an interruption. Chi also becomes an interruption. Chandelier can grab itself back to your hand as well. Another really cool thing you can do is, let's say you negated something with Wave King Caesar and the Charvara was detached. The Charvara can just set escape or like the chamber. And something you can do is, instead of like summoning the Lovely, you can summon like Ariana, grab a Kuklok. Kuklok can trigger. We can activate a trap that will set this turn. We can flip the chamber, and then just chamber back the Charvara or like any Unchained monster. Now let's see if there's one thing I'm gonna show you that like you probably haven't thought about as well. It took me a while to figure this one out. Let's say you're going second, and let's say you have these Unchained cards, right? And let's say we have Ariana in hand as well. Let's put the Torby like, well, we're going second, so this is our 6th card. So something you can do that's pretty cool is you can summon Ariana, and with Ariana's effect we can grab Big Welcome Labrynth to our hand, and now we can set chamber, activate Charvara, Charvara will summon, and then this will pop, and this is going to summon an Unchained monster. And something cool that you can do is you can summon like Unchained Soul, and when it's Unchained Soul, you discard the Big Welcome. And now, and since it's a cost to discard, and this does not target to pop a card, you're immediately applying a lot of pressure onto your opponent's board, because now they have to do something about this Unchained Soul, and if they try to use anything that can get rid of it, you can chain the Big Welcome Labrynth to either get rid of an opposing threat your opponent has on the board, or just dodge whatever they're using and just keep their Unchained Soul back in your hand. That's like just one of many scenarios. Another really cool thing is these two together can make Chaos Angel, and that's something you don't have access in the Labrynth deck. I mean, not in the Labrynth deck, in the Unchained deck. So we already know how Unchained struggles against Tear Element, because Tear Element like are very resilient to like typical popping effects. Now you have stuff like Big Welcome, and you have stuff like Chaos Angel that can just deal with whatever your opponent has, and it means that it's just a little bit more problematic for your opponent to deal with like in other instances. Another really cool thing about this deck is I feel like this is the best deck that can play Typhon. We already know how strong Typhon is. Like, let's say you're going second against like a branded Chimera board, or just like against Vanadium, just to give you like a few examples. Like eventually you'll have a monster on the board and you'll be able to summon this, and if you have access to your Labrynth traps, you can start picking apart the opponent's board like on the next turn. Like, for example, something really cool is that you have the interruption from Lovely Labrynth, and you have a like interruption for like other stuff. And Lovely Labyrinth is 2900 attack, meaning the cheat can still be activated even under the Typhon. You have Big Welcome that can just bounce cards. You have like your typical Unchained cards to deal with your opponent's back row and stuff, like on the next turn. Like sometimes if you're dealing like very huge established boards, you don't necessarily just have to break the board immediately. You can just end on like stuff like this. And something also that's really cool is that Typhon is a Fiend type monster, so even under the locks of the Unchained you can still summon this. Even under Welcome Labyrinth effect you can still summon this. Something really cool is you can bring it back with Muckracker, and you can bring it back with Yama. I've like won games just because people get rid of this card, use Yama's effect, and I bring this back on the board. Take note, if you are doing that effect, 3000 attack monsters can still activate their effects later, because he only gains the like freezing effect if it was XYZ summoned. That's something very, very important when you're playing this deck. Try not to cheat your opponent with that. But yeah, like we're close to 30 minutes. Let's see if there's like one other thing we can do. Let's look at, let's try to assemble a worst case scenario. Let's say all these cards are already in the graveyard, right? Let's say we're in a point in the game where Yama is in grave, Rage is in grave, both finishers are in grave. We have Big Welcome Labyrinth, like over here as well. And this, and I'm showcasing you a scenario that has happened to me in the past. Like I've been in a duel where I'm top decking, and like all those cards are present. And let's throw in any Unchained trap. Let's throw in an escape. Let's say escape is in the graveyard. And let's put top of the deck, top. So we're top decking, and we top decked Ariana. And I kid you not, this happened yesterday at locals. It was against the original Unchained deck. And we have all these in the graveyard, right? Well, let me show you something. We can Ariana, and with Ariana's effect, we're going to grab us, nope, not that. Let us grab Cool Clock. Let us grab the Cool Clock. Cool Clock is in our hand. We're going to activate Cool Clock's effect. And Cool Clock makes it so whatever spell or trap we set, we can activate it that turn. We're going to banish Big Welcome Labyrinth, and we're going to bounce Ariana back to our hand. Because a monster left the board, we can trigger the Chandelier, and we can trigger the Torby. So Torby specials, Chandelier adds to hand. Now what we can do is we're going to Chandelier's effect, send both it and Ariana, and we're going to set regular Welcome Labyrinth. So we're saying regular Welcome. Because a Fiend left our hand, because of his effect, well, a Labyrinth monster rather, we can special Cool Clock, or we can add to Cool Clock to our hand. We're going to activate the Welcome. Welcome is going to summon us Lovely. We can now do Lovely's effect, and we set the chamber, or set the escape rather. We can link these two away into Yama, and if you're familiar with this is the Unchained combo, like the typical Unchained combo that we usually do. So we can grab Aruha declare, pop the set, Aruha summons, escape activates, escape can summon us Sarama, wherever Sarama is. We can Sarama, pop Aruha, set, and then Aruha is going to trigger. Aruha is going to special. Let us special Sharvara. Or, you know what? Top of the deck. Let's summon Shiyama. I didn't summon Shiyama back on that duel when I was playing. But since we're trying to like optimize the scenario, let us just summon Shiyama. We can link these two away into, let's say, you know, since we're going second, let's just summon Anguish. You can Shiyama, pop, bring yourself back. Sarama triggers, Yama triggers. We can banish it. Special a fiend. Let us just summon. Let us summon Torby. And we special like Sharvara. We can overlay these two like into this. We can synchro these two into Chaos Angel. Chaos Angel just banish something. We can do Anguish. Anguish into like Abominable. And like you're starting to see like there's a plethora of things that we can do with just one Ariana. After like, you know, the board was already being placed like in one or two scenarios. It's already been 30 minutes. By the time this video ends, there are probably like 50 more lines that you can do. I'll give you one example. You're facing 2 elements, you haven't used Big Welcome, you're summoning Chaos Angel, they try to Solic Kaleido you. You can banish the Big Welcome, dodge it with the Chaos Angel, and then the finishers will trigger. Just like one out of many scenarios. But yeah, I hope you found this video informative. I hope you found this to your understanding. I hope you found this very interesting. This is not like your typical deck that you'll be seeing every day. This is a mesh of two 1.5 tier 1 decks. So yeah, like a lot of people are fixated on just playing Labyrinth or just playing Unchained. One big weakness of you playing this hybrid is you don't have a lot of room for an engine, which is something very fair. But I just feel like this deck is so incredibly strong. Like there are so many things that you can do, and this is just like the tip of the iceberg when it comes to this deck. Maybe who knows, maybe by YCS Richmond like somebody figures this out and like they find like this actually be a viable strategy. They find like scenarios that you can do with this. Like, you know, I won't lie to you, out of every deck in the format, I think this is like the most fun I've had like experimenting with a deck. Like if it wasn't for the fact that, you know, like I like other decks like the Punctistina deck for example, I probably would be playing this like more often than not. But yeah, like, you know, I hope you found, yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll stop rambling, I'll stop repeating myself. If you enjoyed this, you know, thumbs up, share, subscribe, you know, all that good shit. After the first attack event like concludes, I'll do a more in-depth profile. I'll probably explain like everything I've been playing and like the meta matchups that I've faced, and like stuff and scenarios that I've had with this deck, because There are some games that I've won with this deck that are so unreal. Like, it looks so one-sided, it looks so impossible to win. But, you know, for now, I'm just trying to have fun and just showcasing you everything I can do. But yeah, until then, keep practicing and keep dueling.